from up above, from up above. So that's why I responded to it. I realized that you were tuned in with God. So
Yeah.
pretty cool. So tell me, okay, first, for whoever's going to be watching this on my channel, please introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask a few questions before we get into it.
Right. So I'm Will Campbell, and I'm a licensed psychologist. I work in Guyana, and I also teach educational psychology at the University of Guyana. To give you a bit of a background, well, I'm Christian, and I was a teacher, secondary school teacher for a number of years before I moved into school administration. And then I made the move into tertiary education, into academia. I do a lot of one-on-one therapy work with clients. I also work with groups. And this particular post came out of my preparation for work with mothers.
Yes.
I was preparing to address a religious group of
Yes.
mothers on Mother's Day, and I determined that maybe it might be a great idea to speak to them about the Proverbs 31 woman. I think I'm jumping ahead of myself here, so I'll.
No. Carry on. This is exactly what I'd like to hear. Yes.
All right.
Yes. As to where it came from. Yes.
Okay. So I felt inspired to speak to these mothers about the Proverbs 31 woman and how that ties in with their roles as mothers. And two things jumped out at me. Now let me step back a little bit.
Yes.
I was raised in a Christian household. I stopped saying this, but I'm going to say it for the purpose of this discourse. I'm a third generation Christian. And so, as you would expect, I grew up studying the Bible with my family and so on. And by the time I was an adult, we as a family had read through the Bible at least 3 times.
Wow.
By the time I was adult.
Yes.
And of course, I'm attending church services. I'm studying my Bible every day, participating in church services. So if we were to combine all of the readings and the study, I must have gone through the scriptures quite a few times. And Proverbs 31 was one of the passages that that I read so many times. But in this study, it felt like I'd seen a lot of the content, a lot of the message in Proverbs 31 for the very first time.
Yes.
So it was the first time I realized that the first 9 verses of Proverbs 31 is actually directed towards men.
Yes.
It just did not dawn on me in my previous readings.
Yes.
So I made a post about that because that, it was not something that I paid a lot of attention to.
Right.
And then when I went on to what I wanted to talk about, which was from verse 10 to 31, I believe.
Yes.
I started to look at it in light of what is becoming popular thought with regard to how women should conduct themselves. Good women, virtuous women should conduct themselves. And I've seen a lot of people describe themselves as the Proverbs 31 woman.
Yes.
And in the same sentence, they would say, I'm now in my soft era. And the two just didn't seem compatible to me. How are you in a soft era if you are Proverbs 31?
Exactly.
And so that's where that post came from. The Proverbs 31 life, because the life of Proverbs 31 woman is not a soft life.
It's a busy life.
It's a very busy life. It's the Proverbs 31 woman is incredibly hardworking. Is always thinking, puts in long hours.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to go into the explanation of the verse, but I'm going to stick to the principle that you brought up, because I think that's the lesson for the whole world. So when women are comparing themselves to the Proverbs 31 woman, do you think it's reachable, it's attainable? Or do you think that God intends that maybe if they look at this example, something better might happen in their lives? Maybe they might not reach the full level, but a different mold will be created.
Right. So in my previous readings, I felt like this was prescriptive. This is what a woman should be.
Yeah.
In this particular study, I realized that it was more aspirational. This is what women should aspire to. And I am a believer, and maybe this has come out of my background as a psychologist, that we should strive for perfection,
Yes.
but we should be content with excellence. It might seem like a bit of a contradiction. So I want to score 100.
Yes.
But I make it to 90 or 91.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the fact that my output is outstanding. I didn't quite make 100, but I'm happy with what I'm able to do. And so I feel like a woman should aspire to the ideals of the Proverbs 31, of the Proverbs 31 description. But she should not beat herself up if she's not doing every single one of those things specifically. I think it is it's the principle of the Proverbs 31 woman that's most important, as opposed to, every single item.
Like word for word, like a whole checklist, yes.
Right. Because, for example, simple example, one of the things that I've learned is that, not everyone has the gifts to become an entrepreneur. The Proverbs 31 woman is described as an entrepreneur. Not everyone is going to be able to do that. Not everyone is going to be able to get into real estate and buy land. Not everyone is going to be able to plant a vineyard.
Yes.
But the idea is, that you live a life of industry, that whatever you do, you're dedicated to it, and you strive to make sure that your output is maximized.
And how do you think, or when do you think is a good time to start turning young girls towards this verse? Now, I'm talking as a society. Now, for somebody who's watching this, they might think I'm going to be racial about this, but I'm not going to be racial, but I'm going to look at it this way. Wherever in the world there's been a British colony, and that includes my country, whenever there's liberation and economic prosperity, Black people are always going to be in the tail of things, even though there's equality, and especially Black women. So I'm going to take this from that demographic. When is the right time to start saying to Black women, yes, it's important to get married and have a home and whatever, but prepare first now. Work on your industrial skills first, or work on the person that you are, so that at the end of the day, when you try and feed your family, you're not doing whatever is possible. You know exactly what your plan and method is. What are you thinking about the preparation of young Black girls in Guyana or the Caribbean with regards to that?
I've always felt that we should start preparing our children before we have them. Let me explain. We tend to pass down our behavioral predispositions, some arguably genetically, to our children.
Yes.
From one generation to the next. In fact, I read the abstract of a study just 2 days ago that someone did a study of people in prison. I'm going around the bush here, but I'm going to get to it.
It's okay.
And they found that a significant percentage of the career type criminals, a significant percentage of career type criminals had criminality in their genealogy.
Okay.
And so if you look at those the families that came down from the criminal branch of their families. I'm using terms a little loosely here.
Mhm.
You'd discover that there was criminality in every generation,
Mhm.
as compared to the one branch of the family where, the patriarch was a law-abiding citizen, a contributing individual. And then
Yes.
you found that you had a lot more doctors, lawyers, teachers, merchants. So what I'm saying here is that if I want my children and my children's children to be a certain way, then I have to start preparing myself.
Okay.
And if I search my own heart, I search my own life, I examine my own behavior, and I find that there are deficiencies, then I should work on changing those deficiencies.
Mhm.
It then becomes easier for me to teach that to my children.
Mhm.
And
Because then it becomes a culture for them, because they grew up in it.
they grow up seeing it.
Mhm.
And children learn more from what they see us do
Mhm.
than what we tell them to do,
Yes.
significantly more. As to how early, in a much more practical sense, in a much more direct sense,
Mhm.
as soon as they are able to understand us.
Mhm.
And so the toddler walking around can learn to help to pack things away. They will not do it to our satisfaction, but we engage them in
Yeah.
contributing to the upkeep of the home.
Yeah.
And we teach them to participate to be responsible as they grow. We expand the scope of that responsibility.
Yes.
So they're always contributing to the upkeep of the home.
Yes.
We teach them to earn privileges. There are children's rights, and I believe in children's rights.
Mhm.
Beyond those rights, though, everything else is privilege. And so they must be taught that those things, they're not entitled to those things, and therefore
Mhm.
must earn them.
Mhm.
Now, am I saying that they should put in that my 9-year-old should put in 8 hours of work to get the equivalent of 8 hours earnings?
Yeah.
No. But I'm saying that my 8-year-old must take care of those responsibilities that have been ascribed to her or to him in order to get that present at Christmas
Yes.
time,
Yes.
right? So we teach them, therefore, that in order to gain benefits,
Yes.
there's an input requirement on their part,
Mhm.
and that is biblical again. Bible says, if you're willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. Now, let me backtrack to when I said that we have to start by preparing ourselves even before we have our children. Deuteronomy chapter 6 in
Mhm.
the Bible, and I think it begins with verse 4, says, "Hear, Israel, the Lord our God is one God."
Amen. Yes.
I must know this
Mhm.
if I'm going to teach this to my children.
Mhm.
But I should not just know of him, I should know him. And so he should become, he should be in my heart. He should be in my
Integrated to everything you do.
in my actions. He should
Yeah.
be, uh, this understanding should be as frontlets between my eyes. And so
Yes.
everything I do, every element, every aspect of my life is guided by the
Mhm.
principle that there is the one, there's the one God, and
Okay.
and who God is. And then I teach them to my children.
Mm. That's powerful. So that becomes a culture and a consciousness then, to always look at this example of this woman. And how does this now affect their career choices? Should they be looking for employment, or should they be looking to be their own bosses or producers? You mentioned that not everyone's going to be an entrepreneur, but everyone has a degree of creativity. So,
Right.
so when they finish high school now and they're going into university, their friends are thinking about marriage and whatever. Should we discourage that, or should we say focus on completing this picture of this woman first?
Right. No, I'd like to remind
Yes.
us that this woman, this Proverbs 31 woman,
Mhm.
is not a specific is not engaged in specific economic activities,
Mhm.
but she's industrious. Wherever she is,
Mhm.
she's industrious and she gives of her best. So what I
Okay.
believe we should encourage our children to do is
Mhm.
to identify their gifts, identify their areas of giftedness,
Yes.
and seek to optimize those gifts
Mhm.
so that wherever they are placed, they're able to use those gifts to their to the fullest capacities.
Yes.
I believe that uh, education is important,
Mhm.
but I believe that they should be taught to think for themselves and to question the things they learn in school.
Yes. And also to see opportunities in marketplaces.
Right. And to, to target their education so that
Yes.
they're able to
Compete. Yeah.
to compete in the marketplace, wherever
Mhm.
that is. So
Mhm.
if my daughter determines that she wants to be a nurse and she finds that she's gifted in this area, then go all the way where that is concerned and make sure that if you're placed in the ER or you're placed in pediatrics or you're placed in medical surgery or whatever it is, whatever area you're placed, make sure that you excel.
Mhm.
You know,
Mm.
strive for perfection, ensure that you excel.
Yes.
Now, you might get to a point where you realize that, you know what, I could do better, I could serve better
Yes.
if I were to open my own practice.
Yes.
And so you become qualified so that you can do that. And there you are, entrepreneur,
Exactly. Exactly.
right? But you may not, that may not be your cup of tea. And
Yeah.
so you prefer to work in a hospital setting or a health post setting or a missionary setting. But wherever you go, please make sure that your degree of dedication
Yes.
is that of the Proverbs 31 woman.
Yes. That's a very, very important biblical example. And you mentioned that verse 1 to 9, it starts talking about the man first, and then it switches over to the woman. Now, in the Christian setting, the interpretation of it is literal, which means what you see in the text is how you interpret it. In its original Jewish setting, and I'm not going to sell Judaism to you, but I'm going to share with you some pretty cool nuggets. So, in the Jewish setting, it's meant to be an allegory,
Yes.
and it doesn't take anything away from what's in the Christian Bible or what you read in English. It doesn't take away from that. But it's an allegory, and before I get to the allegory, let's go back to the man. It says there that King Lemuel, which is his name is very funny because Lemuel means from my mouth to God. Lemuel is being instructed by his mother, who's Beer-Sheva, King Solomon's mother, that he admonished him, it says. And the dwelling of the admonition is that wine is not for kings.
Right.
And drunkenness is not fit for royalty. And this is interesting because these are two people. If we want to keep it at the level of simplicity, these are two people that one day might get married, and both of them have preparation to do. If we take it at a very simple level. So when it says that wine is not for kings, it's not really talking about drinking wine, but it means that, for example, not having your mind clear, overindulgence, filling your mind with other things, overindulging in habits, developing new habits that might be a problem to yourself first and cloud your judgment. That's probably something not to do.
Right.
You need to always judge a situation the way that it needs to be judged. So we have a clarity of mind from someone who would be a leader of a house. And then on the other hand, we have the feminine side of it, where she has to be industrious and she clothes her children, her husband, gives him honor, and all those things. So at a very, very low basic level, that's an amazing message to transmit. Now, I'm going to look at this message in context with Guyana's progress in the next 10 years, where you're going to have young people going into the workforce into the business world, and you talk about moral degeneration, and we were talking about how someone has to keep conscientizing the people about morality. Now here's the reveal. The big reveal is that the woman from verse 9 going down, it's an allegory, but it's referring to Deuteronomy, it's referring to Genesis to Deuteronomy, those 5 books of Moses, the Torah. So the woman is the Torah. Whoever finds her, it says in the Torah, finds a good thing, right? And whoever takes care of this woman, she will give him industry. She will provide for him. He will have clothes to wear. He will have honor among the gates. It says the husband will have honor because of her among the gates. Now, what used to happen in ancient Israel is our forefathers used to sit by the gate judging cases, especially the tribe of Dan. That's what we did all day long. If there's a problem in the community, the people would come to the judges at the gate, and the judges would judge the whole of Israel. We call them zakenim. And it says that the woman will give him honor. What does it mean? Literally, again, on that basic level, a Jewish woman is very industrious, or a woman of Israel, let's say. Most Jewish men, even today, it's like that in the Jewish world, especially in Hasidic Judaism. The men don't work. They do absolutely nothing. Their job is to study Torah for 12 hours a day. The women are the ones running the big banks, the big insurance companies, the factories. If you go look at the CEO profiles of all these, you're going to find Mrs. Goldstein, Mrs. Weinstein, Mrs. whatever. All their husbands and sons are studying Torah the whole day and drinking wine and having a good time, because it's a necessary part of Israel that someone must be keeping the consciousness of God 24/7. You spoke about that consciousness when you mentioned the what do you call it? In English, what do they call the tefillin, the frontlets between the eyes, and also the frontlets, we call it tefillin in Hebrew. It's symbolic for the consciousness that you have when you are talking to God.
Yes.
So, which means the whole day, a good man, going back now to the level of the community, a good man who's going to have a good woman must live in a constant state of meditation.
Correct. Yeah.
Constantly connected with God. And that brings down from heaven his blessing through the wife. Without the wife, there can be no blessing coming from above. This is in Hebrew, they call it shefa. There cannot be no blessing coming from above, which is why most men single all your life, you know. So the woman here is first and foremost the book that God gave to Moses to give to the Jews, and the Jews were supposed to give this book to the world and say, these are the principles of God. This is what God wants us to do. So how can this be transmitted to everyday people who may not have God in mind through the education system or through the development systems in our countries, for example, to make sure that morality and those benefits of maintaining industry and also a consciousness of God is preserved. What are your thoughts on this?
Right. So, and again, if we were to take the principles in Proverbs 31 at the surface level,
Yes.
it's not just about the accumulation of wealth. It's not just about bringing in things for the woman's own family.
Yes.
It also talks about making sure that those who are around you are also provided for. So there is that element of in business we would call it corporate citizenship. So you also have a responsibility to contribute to the society at large. There there is charity, and there is empowerment.
Yes.
And all of that is encapsulated in the character of the Proverbs 31 woman. So even as you don't even have to be religious
Yes.
to have that mindset, to have a mindset where I appreciate that it is my responsibility to be industrious. It is my responsibility to earn. It's my responsibility to optimize my opportunities.
Yes.
But I'm not just grabbing for myself. I also have a responsibility to make sure that those people in my sphere of influence are
Yes.
provided for and empowered.
Yes.
And so those who are not yet in a position to provide for themselves, I am helping them with that. But I'm also helping them to get to the point where they develop the consciousness that is required for getting out of slumber, if that is the case. And we have a tendency to believe that if a person is not doing well economically, they must be lazy. And that is not always the case. But whatever their situation is, there is an awakening that needs to occur. And I have a responsibility to help that person awaken if I am already awake.
Yeah. So they can find out where the blockage is, why are they not progressing?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is very exciting. Very, very exciting in a sense that when you have godly people in good structures like you are in, there's a greater hope to influence society, and I hope that God will use you in making these spiritual principles become a reality in practical terms, for young people. I mentioned Black girls especially because of how the world is set up, but of course it's going to be for the benefit of the whole Guyanese community, depending what God does with you and what your efforts are, or how far your message of that woman goes into society. It'll obviously benefit every female in the country, regardless of their ethnic background. So, how do you make a country and the people go back to God? I see an opportunity through morality. The teaching of morality might just spark something. Fixing the family circle to make people understand that life is not male-female attraction. It's two people coming together to create a society, a family, and that family contributes to a greater society. And the importance of family values. I'm sure that's your bread and butter in your counseling sessions.
Yes. I'm glad that you brought it down to family, because that's exactly where I was going to go. And I think more specifically, parenting. The parents are the ones who lead the family. The parents are the ones who determine what happens in the next generation.
Yes.
And I think we've excused away our deficiencies.
Yes.
In parenting, and there is in my society in particular. I don't know that I've seen it anywhere else. There is this saying that you make the child, but you don't make his mind. And there is truth in that.
Yes.
But it is equally true that as the parent, you have a responsibility for molding that mind, for giving that mind direction, for shaping it so that, that child grows to become a responsible adult.
Yes.
And we've been, in some cases, neglecting, and in some cases, doing it poorly.
Yes.
So that we very often, the result is a child who strays from the path. And rather than acknowledge that we made mistakes, we are more inclined to say, well, that child has his own mind, and that's why
their own mind. They have their own choices.
Right. But we did a lot to shape the direction of that child's choices. So I think that we need to go back to the place where we take responsibility for that. We're not perfect beings.
Yes.
And so we will make some mistakes. Yes. And our children will not be perfect, but there is so much more that we can do. Just yesterday, I had an opportunity to well, to see a class of parenting. I did some work with over the course of 3 months with
Yes.
parents, and they were shocked at what they were missing, at what we miss as parents. you
Yes.
know they were shocked at a lot of the things that have been handed down traditionally that we thought
Mhm.
were sound, and now we
Mhm.
realize that a lot of those practices are actually counterproductive.
Mhm.
And so there are lots of parents who are doing these things, and they're
Yes.
doing it with all sincerity, and they believe with all their hearts that they're doing the right thing. So I think it is important that we empower parents by educating them,
Yes.
by making them more aware of
Yes.
of what needs to be changed, and some of the things that did not work in
Uh,
previous generations.
yeah.
But our parents got away with it because the world was different, and the world was more supportive. We were more inclusive. We were more what is the word I'm looking for? We've become we were more collective
Mm.
in our orientation, and so neighbors looked out for neighbors' children. Now
Yes.
we have to guard our children from the neighbors.
Oh, what a change. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's even less room now
Yeah.
for mistakes. We were not going to get away with the mistakes our parents got away.
Mm.
And so it's really, really important that we empower parents through awareness and skill development, because parenting is a skill.
For sure. All right. So, like, one last idea that I have in mind, that something that popped up, is what you mentioned in Deuteronomy 6. So, going down from verse 6 downwards, it says that you should teach these laws
Teach,
to your children, right?
teach.
Teach when you sit
Yeah.
down, when you walk on the road, when you lie down, wherever you are, and your children are there, you must constantly be imparting values.
Yeah.
So,
And that,
go
my
for it.
brother, is the essence of discipline.
Mhm.
Our society has been taught that discipline is punishment. Punishment is one small tool in the
Mhm.
disciplinary toolbox.
Mhm.
But punishment and discipline are not synonymous.
No.
Discipline is about that teaching, that talking of them while you stand in the way, and while you walk in the way, and while you sit in your house, and when you're
Yes.
going to sleep, and when you're getting up, and that constant teaching, that
Yes.
is discipline.
Yes. That's amazing. So that means that in every society, then there has to be a recreation of an elders circle. Uh, Communities creating circles where elders can impart their wisdom with young and upcoming children. In the old days, in Africa and later in the Americas, through the events that happened historically, our communities found themselves in communities where there's a fire, obviously, traditionally, and everybody gathered around the fire, and they would hear legends, they would hear object lessons, they would hear words of wisdom. And I think somehow the television needs to be done away with, and go back to those basics. It doesn't mean that kids have to be punished, that they can't have phones or whatever. No, it's just, I think, an hour or two in a society, people coming together, make in a community, young people and old people sharing words of wisdom. I think that would be the easiest way to bring righteousness back, even to a community that might not be conscious or have a God consciousness of some sort. And the TV came and took that away and started imparting other values. So that needs to be reversed.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
when I was growing up, the TV was one device, and the entire family watched that one device. Now that we
Yes.
have devices that we carry around in our pockets, and everyone is watching programming of their choice. And
Yes.
we're getting all of these conflicting messages and incorrect messages, and that
Yes.
is a challenge. that's a discussion all by itself.
Exactly.
You mentioned the the community and the elders systematically
Yes.
teaching the youth. And I'm reminded of something that I read where recently in some community in Africa, and I don't remember what country it was, I should pay more attention to it. They discovered, that things were going really badly with regard to the behavior of the youth. And so they got the aunties together and they created a system where, in every village, there are aunties accessible. And so when someone, falls on the wrong side of the law, they sit with the aunties and the aunties will talk with them. The aunties are trained as well. And what they've found is that almost immediately there was a decline in crime and vice and negative behavior in the communities where this system was deployed.
Exactly.
And so it can work. Even in modern society, it can work, So it's not a case of going back necessarily.
Yes.
It's about bringing forward what worked.
That's powerful. That's powerful. They often say you can't go forward if you don't bring a little bit of what's behind.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Anything else you want to add? I'm enthralled.
Well, I think so. Let me say this. So I'm working on a book, and hopefully it will be released in the next couple of weeks. It should be on the market. It's called
Amazing.
My Mama Called Me Names.
Amazing.
And the title is a bit misleading. Essentially, it looks at the way my parents raised me. And we're extracting the principles, because principles never changed.
Yes.
And we're looking at how we need to change the methodology so that they're, one, more effective, and two, more relevant to today's society.
Yes.
Right? I believe that a lot of us are adamant that we need to maintain the principles of our parents and of our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And I agree with that 100%. I think that what we need to change is the way those principles were applied. So spare not the rod is still relevant.
Yes.
But you might not want to walk around the place with a big stick whooping your child in the streets.
For no reason. Yeah, that's shameful.
Yeah, it might have happened in the past. It's not going to work today. The punishment-oriented approach, the punitive approach to parenting that our parents tended towards, we might not want we might want to change that strategy. I think too that what we missed about what our parents did was the amount of talking that they did and the amount of time that they spent with us. And so if we want to raise the Proverbs 31 man, the kings.
Yes.
And if we want to raise the Proverbs 31 woman, the industrious, self-sufficient, powerful, wise, virtuous woman, then we have to bring those principles into this dispensation, and we need to repurpose them so that we're using methods and modalities that are more applicable to our current society.
Yeah, I see that happening. I see that happening with intent and organization. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm happy for whoever's going to watch this. Whoever's going to watch this, I'm happy for them. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us and expanding on your initial thought about this woman or this allegory. Yeah.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
No worries. I'm going to stop recording and then we can chat a bit before.
Sure.